Welcome everyone to the webinar. Thank you for joining. It's our pleasure to introduce to you a new feature added in green filing over the past few months that allows you to submit filings and also request service of process. So what we're going to do today is just quickly demonstrate that feature and then kind of show you how you can track status of service of process, and we'll talk to you about how we go about the fulfillment process as well. So here's the agenda for the day. First, just introducing myself, George Knecht with Green Filing. I'm the co-founder and current Chief Operating Officer of Green Filing. Happy to be here today to demonstrate this new feature to you. We're going to do a demonstration of how you can submit documents for the purpose of service of process. This can be done in a couple of different ways. One, through filing a brand new case with the court, and then two, through a standalone page, and we'll go over each of those. Then we're going to show you how you can monitor the status of your service of process orders through notifications that are generated to you by email, through the application, and how you can communicate with your process server. Then I'm going to talk to you about the fulfillment standards that we abide by. We are partnering with One Legal to complete fulfillment of your service of process orders. So we'll talk about how we go about that. And then if you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and submit them using the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. You can submit them at any time. But what we're going to do in the interest of time for this webinar is after the webinar, we're going to provide you written responses to all your questions. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I talked about there are two different ways to submit documents for the purpose of service of process through the green filing application now. One is during the process of initiating a brand new case. So once you upload your documents and submit your documents for filing with the court, once the court accepts those filings and we get the file stamped versions back, then we'll go ahead and generate a service of process order and go about fulfilling that order for you. The other way is through a standalone page. It's just a page we call service of process that allows you to just submit documents for the purpose of service of process and then track status through the application as well. So you're not filing them with the court. Maybe they've already been filed with the court. You're going to upload your file stamped versions and ask us to serve them. Could also be documents later on in a case, like summons later on in the case or subpoenas later on in the case, things like that. And then we're going to talk about how to track status. So you're going to receive email notifications that tell you that a status has been updated on your job. Link will be available to you in that email notification to view status. And then you'll also have the ability to add notes or answer questions from your service processor through the application as well. So I'm actually logged into our test environment, and I'm just sitting here on the dashboard. So there's two ways to go about submitting filings, documents for service process. The first way is through initiating a new case. So I'm just going to quickly run through this, assuming most of you know how to use this platform to create your new case filing. So we'll just do a civil limited fraud case. And we're going to upload a complaint. A civil case cover sheet, and a summons. So pretty typical documents to be filed to submit a brand new court case. So we're going to say this is a business as the plaintiff. And then I'm not going to enter an address because I have an attorney and the address associated with the attorney is good. And then we'll enter a defendant. I'll just make up a name here. Now you could enter multiple defendants. I could just click add party here and enter another defendant. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to keep it one defendant. So one person that I'm going to need to serve. Select our filing party. This section here, service contacts, this is for electronic service, or you can also do mail or certified mail service. So we're going to skip over that, and we want to focus on service of process. So if you would like us to go ahead and serve these documents on the defendant, after the court has accepted your filing, this is where you would indicate it. You just indicate yes here. We do need to add the service party. You can indicate it's an individual or an organization. If it were an organization, you'll type the organization name, any service instructions. If they don't have a registered agent, you'll select none here, enter their authorizing agent and their location information. or you can use CSC Corp or CT Corp if their registered agent is with one of those. For this example, we'll stick with just an individual, and we're going to type the defendant name in here again. Any specific service instructions, so we'll just say he's often at home, something like that. You can request a rush priority or not. Of course, there's additional cost for rush priority. And then we're just asking for identifying information. So pretty typical of a service or process. Just make a few things up here. You can provide as little or as much information as you can. Obviously, the more detail you provide, the better it is for the process server. So I'm just going to skip down here to the service address section. So we'll say we're going to serve them at home. I'm just making up an address here. And then we'll click Save. So at this point, that service or process party is going to be added to this filing. We're going to estimate a fee for service process, and we're going to talk about pricing after we do the demonstration. You're just going to indicate you understand the fees are subject to change based on how the job goes. If you're in communication with the process server and they need to do a skip trace or a stakeout or something like that, they'll communicate that to you before they do it, which might increase cost. You can select a different payment method for service or process as well. So if you want to select a specific payment method for this fee here and then a different payment method for your filing, you can do that as well. Or it can be the same, doesn't matter. And then at this point, we're just going to go ahead and submit our filing. So we're packaging up all the data and documents, submitting to the court. And then once the court reviews and processes this filing, we'll get the accepted documents back, and then we can start the service process job. So that's pretty much all there is to it in terms of submitting the job with a new service of process order. So we're going to wait for these documents to be accepted. Now we have the file stamp documents back. Then we'll go ahead and initiate the service of process order assigned to a contracted process server, and they'll go out and do the job. So that's one way of starting the job. The other way is to use this service of process button. So this is what you would do if you want to create a service of process order but not file these documents with the court. So maybe you've already got file stamp documents, or maybe it's a document that needs to be served later on in the case. So you just select the case you want to serve them on. You're going to notice the document type just says service only. This could be, a summons, it could be a subpoena, it could be a complaint, it could be all kinds of different things. Again, to keep this simple, I'll just stick with a simple summons I want to have served. And then we'll indicate here, yes, I want to have them served. And it's the same process. So I won't bore you by going through all the detail here, but essentially you'll enter your party to be served again, their identifying information and address. And then when you save, that'll display here and display your pricing. And notice the button at the bottom here says Submit Service. So this time we're submitting these documents only for the purpose of service. We're not filing them with the court. This will instantly generate a service of process order and assign to a contracted process server, and they'll begin to work that job. The second sort of half of this is how do you track status and communicate with your process server once the job is started. So you're going to receive some email notifications. The first email you'll receive is one that looks like this. Basically, it's just saying, okay, the filing's been accepted. We've now started the service of process job. So here's an order confirmation for this particular party. You can open this up. It'll have a little bit of detail about what's going on. Here's the case and the documents that are going to be served, the estimated fee, so on and so forth. So that's just a confirmation the job has began. Once status updates occur on the job, you're going to receive an email that looks like this. It'll just say a service update for whomever the party is has occurred on this job. You can open that up. You'll see a little bit of information here about what's occurred, but to get the detail, you actually need to click this link to return to your filing. And the big reason for this is because the way that you're going to communicate with your process server is through the application itself. You don't want to just reply to an email. So in this particular job I just opened, it says the status is complete, meaning the job has been served, it's been delivered, and you can kind of see all the detail here. If I close this window, you'll see on this particular filing, I actually had two parties to be served. And the first one's status is dispatched, meaning it's out for service. And the second one, which is the one I opened up, is already complete. So if it's been dispatched and a status has been sent to you, when you click that link in the email, it's going to open up this window here. And you can see this is a job I communicated with the server previously on, but it says, owner says he doesn't live here. Is there an alternate address we can serve? And I submitted a note back saying, yeah, his address is this. And the way that you do that is you use these form fields up here to communicate with the server. So if you need to update an address, just select update address and give them the new address here. If you need to provide them an updated document, you can click add and remove documents, type a message here, and then click here to add a new document to the job. If you just have a question about status of a service, you can select category status request and type a note you would like. There's also an option for other. So if you choose other, you can type any note you would like to the process server. This is instantly delivered to them. And then when they communicate back to you, you're going to see an email that says a status update. You click the link in the email, you'll be presented this screen and you can see the status. Once the job has been complete, you're going to get an email that looks like this one here. And attached to that email is going to be your affidavit of service. So if I click on this email, open it up, it's basically going to indicate the job was a successful service. And then I can click here to see the detail, but also attached to the job is the affidavit or the proof of service. So you'll see that in the subject line that's attached, service has been completed. Now you have that to file. Common question is, do we file the affidavit or the proof of service for you? Currently, we do not, but that is a feature we are looking to add in the future, that once that affidavit or proof of service is generated, we'll go ahead and file that for you as well. I do want to point out that at any time, in addition to the emails that you get about a status update, that's just kind of an alert that an update has occurred. But at any time, you can always come into the green filing application, click on filing status, and then open the filing where service has occurred, or where you've requested service. So I just click the filing ID to open it, and then you just scroll that service contact section, and you'll see the status here. And then again, once a job has been completed, you're going to get this proof of service or affidavit of service. That's available to you at the filing level as well. So I can open that up and view it. You'll also get the finalized invoice. So we saw in the email that we now have finalized fee of $85. You're also going to see that here as well. We have this invoice for $85. It's been paid. So this actually, the charge on your payment method doesn't occur until the job is over, and it'll occur at the agreed upon amount. All right, so that is how you use the application to submit a service of process job, either through case initiation or on the service of process standalone screen, and how you'll track the status, both through email notifications, and you can open up the filing at any time to view that status. So what I'd like to talk about now is kind of what goes on behind the scenes to make sure that your job gets fulfilled. So Green Filing has partnered with OneLegal to do the fulfillment process for service of process. So we have a software integration with a product called Serve Manager, which is the product that OneLegal owns and uses to manage all the fulfillment processes of all their jobs. We chose this partnership because they are an industry leader, especially in the state of California, for service of process, and we can cover the entire United States as well. So they have approximately 550 contractors across all 50 states to fulfill service of process orders. They range from, sort of solo practitioner or contracted individuals to small agencies to larger companies that do service of process. Average experience of anybody that we contract with is greater than 10 years. So we have a very knowledgeable, very skillful set of contracted process servers to complete your jobs. There are minimum requirements in place to make sure that the people who are working these jobs are qualified. A lot of states only require that you be 18 years old to be a process server, but we require you to be at least 21 and have 2 years of experience. We do comply with any standards that you would expect, background checks. They have reliable transportation, all insurances and licenses are in place, and any jurisdictional requirements. So Varying county to county, state to state, there may be different requirements of a process server. So we make sure that whomever's working these jobs in those areas have all the proper registrations, licenses, paperwork that's needed. We have a motto of trust but verify, and we reinforce that through the use of technology. So not only are we selecting professional process servers to do the job, but we're requiring they have a level of accountability that's second to none, and we can verify the data and the information they track as they do your job. And we do that with what we call tech-backed accountability. So every server's action is meticulously logged via our mobile app. That's the Serve Manager mobile app. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the idea is that we're trusting these professionals to get the job done, and we're using technology to track the job and the specifics of it so that we can all have peace of mind and trust in the results. So tool technology, we have all of our process servers use the Serve Manager mobile application. This is also a web application as well, so they can update from laptops and things like that. But the primary tool that processors are using is the Serve Manager mobile application. All of the contracted process servers are required to use this tool because all of their jobs are assigned through this tool as well. So the cool thing about using mobile app is it gives you real time in the field feedback and updates. So if I, as a process server, attempt to serve a job and say I'm unsuccessful, I'm able to take a photo. That photo is geotagged, so we know the exact location where that server was at. I can then upload that to the job and provide a status update. Maybe it's an attempt where nobody was home. You take a picture of the front door. You provide some information about the fact that nobody was home. You update that in the application. And then that information is sent directly back to you as a service attempt. You'll receive that update email and you'll be able to read the details of what occurred, even see a photo. If it's a successful serve, it may be a photo of the party being served, being handed the paperwork, things like that. But at the very minimum, you're going to get location, exact geotagged photos, and things like that. This is also the application that the contractors can send messages between you and themselves. So if you use our screen to send the server a note, they're going to see that information pop up in their mobile app. So very, very useful tool for real-time updates to jobs. It's also become the expectation that tools like this are used. So we're all used to seeing live tracking on our FedEx packages and other legal applications and things like that. So it could be as simple as we're all using Uber or other taxi applications now. So the expectation is real-time live updates. We want to know what's going on with our job. So the app allows us to do that. The app is also what we talked a little bit about this, just tracking accurate and specific data, being fast, getting information back to you as the customer in terms of the status of the job. The app is what allows us to do that. And the technology allows us to track a lot of data about a job that gives us more trust in what's going on. So just a little bit more information about that. In terms of pricing, our philosophy is to commit to fair and transparent pricing for physically delivered services. In this instance, service of process. We want to make sure we provide equitable compensation to our contractors. So we ensure fair compensation reflecting actual effort and dedication of contractors. It's customer centric. So the goal is for it to be transparent, stable, and predictable. So you can trust that pricing over time. And we'll disclose all components of pricing to you up front. In the example we showed you an estimated price based on the information we have thus far. If we believe the pricing is going to go beyond that, that's not going to be done unless we contact you first for approval on that pricing. So if you want to change it to a rush job or ask for a stakeout or skip trace, which may include additional costs, that will be approved by you before we do that. So we have a three-part pricing model based on what we call zone. So that's the geographic influence, adjusts for rural versus population density and the complexity of serving your job. There's also unique zones like prisons, military bases, or areas that are hard to access. So that's the first component of pricing. The second component of pricing is page count. So if you have a 500-page document and we got to print all those pages, then there's going to be an extra fee for that. So we'll see a slide here in a bit that shows you the different page count tiered pricing. And then, of course, service level. Is it a rush or a standard job, or is there any other special handling, stakeouts, other specialized needs? So these three tiers are going to determine the price of your job. The zone is probably the biggest influence in terms of that estimated price. Basically, if your person to be served is in a heavily populated or dense area, easier to get there, easier to serve. If they're more remote, where somebody's got to drive for hours or make special plans to get to a location to serve somebody, that is going to increase cost. And of course, page count, the higher your pages, the higher the cost. And then any specialized handling, whether it's you need it to be rushed or you have other special needs, that could impact cost as well. In terms of service levels, we have our standard level, a rush level, and then any special services. So to give you an idea of how each level plays out, standard, a time to first attempt, average is 2 days. The max is 5 days. So we definitely will not go over 5 days for that first attempt, but the average, we're getting it done in 2 days. On a rush, average has been 22 hours, but on max, we'll get that done in 24. And in terms of time to actually complete service, we're averaging 3 days. The max, according to our service level agreement, is 21 days on a standard job. And then on a rush job, our average completion is 1 day, 13 hours. And then service level agreement for max is 5 days on that. And then, of course, any special instructions or stakeout is going to be per your instructions, and prices will reflect that. So how do we calculate the zone-based pricing? So we have a pretty rigorous and sophisticated approach to this, and it's a zonal analysis based on zip code using census and USDA data to assess population density and transit conditions. Basically, if the zip code is a more heavily populated area where it's easier to get around and find the person that you need to serve, typically pricing is going to be cheaper there. Other factors influencing zone could be travel distance, geographic conditions, like is it in the mountains, is it in the desert, things like that. Those are going to tend to be different zones that are more highly priced. You can see the last bullet point here, zone range and pricing from densely populated, well-connected urban areas. That's a zone 1. They start at $85. And then to more remote and sparsely populated areas on the other end of the spectrum, zone 15, that would start at $175 for the serve. Just to give you an idea of how the zones sort of play out, you can see that in the pie charts on the right here, we have 15 zones, but zone 1 is the bulk of them. So the bulk of our serves, almost 80%, occur in zone 1. Zone 2 is 9%, so we're almost already at 90% here just across the first 2 zones. Pricing is going to be pretty consistent for people who are in populated areas. And then once we start getting out to these more remote areas or special instances like prisons or military bases or something like that, pricing starts to get a little more expensive, higher numbered zones. Just to provide some examples of where it's kind of like a special assignment, if we have to serve somebody in a national park, on Catalina Island, on an Air Force base, these are typically places that are harder to get access to the specific person that needs to be served. So that can have an impact on costs. Page count charges. So this slide here just shows where we start to implement charges for page counts. Most of our serves don't incur a page count because they're less than 50 pages. Sometimes, we do have to account for page count. So you can see here, 50 to 99 pages, $10, 100, we go to 25, and then 250 pages, 50, and so on and so forth. Most of the time, we don't have to incur a page count charge, but you will see that in the estimated price right when you upload your documents, because we can see the page count in the green filing application. When you ask for a service of process job where the page count is 250 pages, you're going to see that price along with the zone price provided to you right up front. And then the last thing I'll mention is if your service of process requires any witness fee or disbursements for, say, like a subpoena down the road in a case, we do manage fee disbursements. So One Legal provides an e-check for witness fees in the service packet, ensuring timely disbursement without burdening the contractor. No additional cost for that. And then everything will be processed seamlessly. Definitely can take care of those on those types of serve as well. All right, that's my presentation. I want to thank you for having attended this webinar and giving us the chance to show you our service of process feature. I hope that you all will give it a try and see how easy it can be to manage not only your filing, but your service of process orders through the green filing application, sort of in a consolidated place. And finally, if you have any other questions you want to reach out to me directly on, feel free to do that. you can email me. It's just george@greenfiling.com, or contact our customer support team on our website using the live chat, and they can put you in touch with me as well. You all have a great rest of your day.